We're talking with Don Kate, and Don, I got a quick comment. What's your website? You have a website that you'd like to plug?
No, I'm afraid I'm an old, I shouldn't say, I'm an old geek, and I'm not young enough to have websites.
Okay, no problem. Well,
I can
Don,
barely use other people's.
Well, I want to get your comments on what you just heard. And, people, what you just heard was an audio trailer to a movie called The Gang, put out by JPFO and put out by GOA, Gun Owners of America, is helping to promote it. What you heard was actual audio testimony in the movie along with video of rigged testing of firearms that were illegally confiscated by the BATF. People, even recently, we heard about on a gun owner on June 7th this year was sentenced to prison for a malfunctioning semi-automatic firearm as claimed by the BATF. And for those of you who make the transition from gun owner and shooter to Second Amendment activist, the most disillusioning phenomenon we have to face is that not everyone we might expect to be an ally in the fight for the right to own and carry weapons can actually be relied on. What are we talking about? We're talking about the Kimber kiss-up. That's right, people, the Kimber kiss-up. For those of if you want to read more about this, you can go to JPFO. The link is on our website. Scroll down on the left. It's the one with the Star David with the musket and the Galil automatic weapon that's used for the preservation of firearms ownership, America's most aggressive defender of firearm ownership. Again, we are talking with Don Kate on the Second Amendment. And yes, people, the Second Amendment is drastically under attack. It is time for us to expose what is happening when we have an out-of-control government agency that is basically attacking our freedoms of firearms. People, the ATF has committed acts such as the burning to death of men and women and children, Waco, murdered a mother holding her baby, Ruby Ridge. The BATF has been operating since its inception outside of the law, acting as the arm breakers of the United States government, forcing honest gun dealers out of business on a daily basis, and attacking their dissenters on trumped-up charges they generically titled firearms violations. What is the goal of our government? What is the goal of the anti-lobbyists? It is quite simply no more firearm sales within the United States to civilians. And how far will they go? As far as committing murder and illegal acts to achieve that goal, up to including the murder of family members. Don, I'd like to get your thoughts on the role that ATF has played against honest gun owners and American citizens. Go ahead, Don.
Well, I certainly don't want to pretend to be a defender of ATF, but I must point out that ATF was not involved in the killings that you're talking about. In both cases, the FBI had taken over, and it was the FBI who did the killings. Now, there is plenty of reason to believe that the FBI tactics involved were illegal.
Well, you don't think LaRoche, wasn't he an ATF agent? He was the one that was shot Vicky Weaver in the forehead, clean shot. His name was LaRoche. And he also was the one...
I don't believe that's his name. I believe it sounded like an Oriental name.
Right, it was an Oriental name.
FBI agent. He's not an ATF agent.
Okay, well, would you say the ATF is a rogue agency nevertheless?
I would say that they have done some things which I regard as regrettable.
Well, what do you think about them manufacturing firearms testing? That clip we played was actual testimony from court, which was used in actual court cases where, believe it or not, American citizens did win in court against the ATF because guns were confiscated and they put used, like the guy said, JB epoxy weld on the firearm to create false positives. And these this is a testimonies that were actually used in actual court cases, and people can see these on the movie The Gang. So this agency, in order to produce the desired results, actually alter the actual physics of the gun. I mean, this is documents. Go ahead. Have you heard about this, Don?
I'm not familiar with that, but I am familiar with something else.
Go ahead.
Although it was 10, 15 years ago, if you own a machine gun legally, you have to have registered it. And there's therefore supposed to be a registration list. Well, ATF was going into court where people were being prosecuted and testifying. These people's names aren't on the registration list, so they had an unregistered gun. But VATF had a memorandum that they didn't reveal and didn't pay any attention to from an ATF agent saying, we can't honestly testify to that. Our registration list is worthless. It's all corrupted. We don't know who owns guns and who doesn't own guns. And in at least one case, they prosecuted someone who had been bright enough to save the receipt when he paid his federal machine gun tax, and he brought in the receipt. And that was the end of the prosecution. But ATF had tried to testify that this guy owned the gun illegally and hadn't paid the tax and hadn't registered the gun. And what really is the case is that ATF hadn't kept an accurate list, and they weren't trying to persecute firearms owners. They were trying to conceal the embarrassing fact that there were a bunch of screw-ups.
Now, are you aware, you know what a gun trace is, right?
I beg your pardon?
The gun trace. You know, you get a firearm, the FBI, the FBI has gun trace record. You know, BATF, they have the gun, the FBI, the BATF and the FBI has their database. I believe it was December 12th or December 22nd, Dallas Morning News, ABC affiliate, broke a story. Larry Pratt of Gun Owners America confirmed it. What would be your reaction? I'd like to see the reaction of listeners, too, in text, or if any of them want to call in, that the ATF and the guys are fighting the phony war on drugs, and I'm calling it phony because I really think it's a ruse, that our government has, people are involved, but that's beside the point. The point is that the gun records database of all gun traces in America, of American citizens, has been given full access to the Mexican government. In other words, the Mexican government now knows the name of every single gun owner that our federal government knows. They have all their personal information, their social security numbers, where they live, their phone number, everything they know about every gun owner that's in a record has been turned over to the Mexican government. And our government had the audacity, too, to go so far as to now create a Spanish version of their database to make it more compliant with the Mexican government. How do you feel about a foreign government knowing about our personal information, especially a government that we're trying to work with? Go ahead.
I think that's terrible. We know, among other things, that the Mexican government and the Mexican police are grossly corrupted. We know that Mexican police officials who attempt to enforce the law are assassinated all the time, and in fact, other officials who've supposedly been promoted to police chief won't take the position because if they try to enforce, they try to act like a legitimate police chief, they're going to get killed and their families are going to get killed. So they just say the hell with it. Right.
Now, are you? I mean, you don't have to say because I know the government listens to our show. But are you one of the 80 to 100 plus million gun owners in America? And if so, What you have a gun of your choice? I mean, what do you like to fire?
Well, I don't see there's any grave difficulty revealing this. I live in Washington State, and I have a carry permit in Washington State and a number of other states. And I have basically three preferred guns. One is a Sig Sauer 225, the 9mm. Then I have a couple three Smith & Wesson. I'm trying to remember the name of it. It's the Smith & Wesson imitation of the Glock, and I like it better than the Glock. And the other thing I carry from time to time is the Walther 99 in 40 S&W.
I like that Medusa, the Medusa pistol, the one that fires multiple pistol rounds without making any cylinder adjustments. It's made out of aircraft steel. I think it's called the Medusa. You can pop a 40 caliber in, a 38 in, a 45 in, with no adjustment.
Well, I'm not familiar with that.
It's called the Medusa.
You know, I'm an old geek, and
it's a great survival
gun.
New
technology, probably.
Well, great survival weapon. People will be right back. You are